I just want to start off by saying thank you for your service to our planet, our continent's wildlife, and for your conservation work in general. I think the everyday person may not necessarily understand conservation and the need for it, but the work that you and the rest of the Okavango Wilderness Project is important, and I hope more people will get to see and understand that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I know we don't have all night, so I'll jump right into the questions. What first convinced you that the ghost elephants might be more than a myth?
It was 2015. We were doing the expedition from the source of the Okavango all the way into the Kalahari Desert. That was 4 months, 121 days, 2,500 kilometers, and really our first mega transect. And it was the first month we didn't see any people. I would run away up into the hills after each day and whistle, and I found footprints and I followed just looking for people. I wanted to meet local people because we couldn't find any. It had taken us so long just to get access to those sources of the Okavango, the source lakes. And on one of those walks, I found a clearing where there was elephant dung. I was astonished to find that. And I could see an old bull had been there. I call them elephant gardens, where he'd been, he breaks the top of the trees so they grow from the bottom so that the young elephants could feed. And he clears open, it's like a living room almost. And what he's hoping for, because he's not migrating, is when breeding herds come through, they will pause in that area, spend time with him, and then carry on. And so it was just like, wow, I recognize this from other places across the continent that I've, been with elephants and followed them. So it was a ghost. I never saw the elephant, and then started on mountain bikes, on foot, on motorbikes, with the traditional leaders, the hunters, starting to find out more about them. We found everything: lions and leopards and new populations of cheetah and wild dog. But 180 camera traps doing motion sensing and heat sensing, and the elephants remained ghosts. But we would be on mountain bikes. We'd be 3 weeks from away from the roads, crossing rivers and all this, and you'd smell elephants. You could sense them, but would never hear or see them. It is just the strangest experience. The 7 years to get the first photograph, and that's only because the king said he spoke to the ancestors, and I just felt like the matriarch, who are the real, she was, you could see it was a female, and she kind of just looked into the camera like she was like, I'm going to show you myself, but these are black and white images, very difficult to see, and you're just like, what is this? And then again, no, for years and years and years and years, just you following tracks and signs, and they're ghosts.
Wow. Further building onto that, I know you brought up the king as well. And what have these years or the years that you spent in Angola taught you about the relationship between myth, tradition slash belief, and science?
Well, science is about measurement and indigenous knowledge systems, traditional knowledge, myth, um, traditional practice, whether it's the use of fire, farming, hunting. Those are by their very nature, they have to be sustainable because they've been around for centuries. And science is about measurement. And, in the Angolan highlands, the Luchazi, they will burn the whole forest, everything. This is a forest the size of England. It's a forest bigger than the Western Cape. It's just a huge, huge forest. And they are burning it to protect the peatlands, to protect the lakes, to clean rivers, to optimize for honey production, to optimize for agriculture, to optimize for wildlife, in many different reasons. And that forest is pristine and completely intact. All the forests to the west in Angola that form part of the Angolan Highlands water tower that we've described, that's non-fire forest loss that has devastated them. That is forest clearing for agriculture, logging for hardwoods, teak and rosewood, and charcoal production. But it has been astonishing to see science confirming that traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge systems are sustainable. So when we look at okay, how are we going to amplify livelihoods in those landscapes to bring prosperity to them? It's a balance between we want to enhance traditional agricultural systems, enhance honey production, but it's a playoff between enhancing it to increase productivity and help bring in money for school books and medicines and things for kids and for the community the overall community, but then it's a playoff with freedom because the Luchazi man or woman would only need a small axe with a small, axe head on it to make a beehive, to make a fishing net, to make it's only one tool. And then I come along and I say, well, cool, like we can make these square bee boxes and we can do this and like, here's a bee suit. And now you've taken a bit of that freedom away by saying, no, it's going to be more valuable, the honey, we can export it. But the person is looking at it and saying, well, with just this axe, I could go and take the bark off that tree and make 400 hives. And I didn't have to talk to you about that. So you've got to find a balance between those two things, noting that what that person is doing in the traditional practice is by its very nature sustainable.
I actually really love that you said that because I think that in general, the best way to move through life is looking at everything holistically. And in this case, we got to see the marriage of ancient tracking methods and modern science and technology. There was actually a specific moment, if I'm remembering correctly, where the Khoisan trackers find a hare that everyone missed. Talk to me about the importance of having them specifically on the exhibition and what they brought to the table that science could not to that point.
Well, they are at the very origin of of science. I think they're the first scientists, the analytical mind that a master tracker has is far beyond anyone I know in science. To be able to put so many disparate clues together to come to narrative conclusions around where something is, whether it's pregnant, whether it's not just running or going slowly. That is, we would never have been able to understand the elephants without David, Cobus, Ricardo, because what I said in their interaction, Twee's interaction with an elephant footprint is the same as your interaction with a human face. So he sees it once, now there's a footprint there. And then he'll see it again and go, oh, it's the same footprint. The third time, he's now given it a name. That's the footprint that looks like a Steenbok footprint inside or something. And then he's got a name for it. And within a few weeks of being in Angola, he knows the names and birthdays of all the elephants there. We haven't seen any elephants, but he knows them all already. And this one walks with funny, and this one's always behind the herd. And so he's telling this, it's like he's seeing them every day, but we're not. But he's starting to, and when we come back to camp, we've gone out for 2 days searching and looking and sampling the DNA off the dung. You come back and you talk like you've been wandering around in the presence of the elephants the whole day, because you'll say, no, there was these two herds and they came together and then they split up and then the babies were there and the bulls came along. There's no elephants that you've seen, but you've got this whole soap opera of what the elephants were doing for that day without seeing them because you have master trackers.
Wow, it's amazing to actually hear that illustrated in the way that you're speaking. What were the toughest conditions that you faced in the Angolan highlands, and how did the terrain itself limit your ability to gather evidence?
I mean, it's okay. You saw the motorbikes is difficult. It's very difficult being 8 hours on a motorbike for days on end and trying to get doing a film. You've got this extra element of you're not just bringing our food and our science equipment, and you're also bringing these pelicans full of cameras and batteries and all these things. That's hard. That's very hard. But the hardest part is you will spend now weeks and week on week on week. You're doing 30, 40 kilometers a day, hiking. You've got heavy backpacks, and this is dense forest. Okay, it's like doing hot yoga the whole day. Like you're hot, you're bending and blah, 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 it's not like wandering down a trail on Table Mountain or something. This is blocked, you know. So you are scratched to everything. Not yeah, you're physically stretched the whole time. You have to treat yourself constantly for skin infections, you know, malaria. All of these things are happening the whole time. But no, that's when that becomes ordinary life, which it does after a week. That's when I always say our only superpower as human beings is being in nature, and because it brings it out in us. There's no Marvel superheroes. Luchazi Hunt is a superhero. They can walk across an entire landscape with a little axe and be fine. You know, that's a superpower to me.
Wow. A decade is a long time to look for anything. And while I know that you have no shortage of experience being out in the wilderness in different conditions, was there any moment where you nearly walked away?
Mhm. No. I don't think about things that way. I'm not finished ever with anything. So no, I go back every 3 months. I'm there in those valleys. I've become strangely I miss it a lot when I'm not there. I was flying over in a helicopter. We were doing surveys in September, and I almost wanted to jump out the helicopter looking from the air for the first time. I was just like, I just wanted to be down there. So, no, uh, I'll be tracking these elephants and other elephants and exploring rivers. But I never think about it too deeply. I just know that. Yeah, for most of the year I'm doing it. We've got teams all over the place, young people. There's 3 or 4 expeditions happening right now on rivers across Africa. Young Africans, 20 something years old. I hope they phone at the end of the day. They're doing advanced science and meeting extraordinary river guardians along the way and finding new populations of hippos and strange elephants. And that's going to continue. But uh, I don't think about it too much.
Wonderful. I just have one final question for you. If this quest had never yielded any results and the ghost elephant stayed, well, ghosts, would it have been worth it?
Yes, yes. I mean, you see in the film there's a conflict where part of everyone would, including the king, wants them to remain as ghosts so that they will always be there, you know. And I want the film for people to Um, I wanted to bring the forest behind their house alive with the potential for elephants or a leopard that make just appear, no matter where you live. And you know, I explore rivers, and most of them have hippos in them. You hardly see the hippos, but the river is dangerous and alive because of the hippos and the crocodiles, and it brings it to life. It gives it a voice. And I want a person in Germany to look at the forest differently. Like there might be a mammoth in there, you know, or in America, like, oh, there's Bigfoot in there. I want that feeling of that ghost that could still be there, that chance. And you feel that so strongly in the Angolan highlands where, what am I going to find? There might be a rhino in there that's been extinct for all these years and now it's still there hiding. So that's the feeling I want people to have is bring the natural place nearby your home to life with something that might be there.
I mean, I can't speak much for the audience, but I can definitely speak for myself that that has very much been the case. You know, going from watching the documentary, feeling myself tear up for something that I didn't know meant that much to me, to, you know, walking through, coming back home, I walked through a little forest, wondering what could be in
Yeah.
here that no one's seen. So I definitely think that you've succeeded in that in the documentary. So thank you so much for all your work and for sharing it with us as well.
Well, thanks, Miriam. Yeah, awesome.
Very much.